Hey guys, Galactical11 here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a new series that I've been meaning to do for a little bit called TF2 Top 5. So it's pretty self-explanatory, pretty much just talk about my top 5 certain type of TF2 weapons. So this week I'm going to be doing my TF2 Top 5 Spy Knives, and I was going to do this earlier, but after the gunmetal update and a lot of the knives were changed, I kind of had to experiment a little and kind of just play around with them and see how they changed. So all of the positions have stayed the same, but my opinions on the knives have changed a bit. So let's get into it. Number 5 on this list is the Big Earner. So before the gunmetal update, the Big Earner was like the crappiest weapon for the spy and one of the crappiest weapons in the game. But after the gunmetal update, they added a cool little buff to it that made it worth using. The stats for the Big Earner are that you have 25 less health than you normally would, so you only have 100 for max health. But on a backstab with it, you get 30% of your cloak back, and you also get a 3-second speed boost. So, before the gunmetal update, as I said before, this was a horrible weapon. It was the same, except that it did not have the speed boost, and we'll get to why that's important in a minute. But for now, let's focus on the con of the weapon, which is the 25 less health. For a good spy, that actually wouldn't be too much of a problem, because you shouldn't even be taking damage in the first place, right?
Oh, okay.
But, you know, everyone gets spy checked, everyone makes mistakes. And when you have 100 health, there's a lot of weapons that can one-shot you instead of like the 2 or 3 that can normally one-shot you. So weapons that can one-shot you when you only have 100 health are like the scatter gun, rocket launchers, grenade launchers, stickies, ambi headshots. All that stuff can one-hit kill you much easier. It can just one-hit kill you, and it's much harder for you to survive a hit from it. And the 30% extra cloak on the kill wasn't that great, mostly because you already got cloak when you killed someone, and it helped, I guess, but it didn't really. It wasn't a huge upside if you already got a partial upside without just a stock knife. That meant, however, with that, it means that you can get back your Dead Ringer charge in 2 backstabs, which is pretty good, especially if you're chain stabbing. But before the gunmetal update, as I said before for the 3rd time, you couldn't really chain stab with this weapon. This wasn't an efficient weapon to chain stab with. You had less health, and you didn't really get anything from the chain stab unless it would get you out of the chain stab by allowing you to cloak way easier. With the 3-second speed boost with it, you can now you can chain stab, and you can also run away with it much easier, which kind of helped the 2 parts that would make this weapon better. Because obviously, if you're chain stabbing, it's not the type of chain stabbing knife like everyone's on the cart and just jump on and like stab everyone in the back. It's those kind of chain stabs where everyone is kind of just heading over to the cart. They're like 20 feet apart or something, and then you just like get your first stab, and then you can easily catch up with everyone else, and you got them. So it's good for that, and then it's also good for escaping, obviously, because with that extra speed, they have that much more area to look for you, especially if you cloak right after your kill. So all in all, the Big Earner is it's a really fun weapon. Personally, my favorite, or in my opinion, the most fun knife for the spy right now. But it's just not that practical. The speed boost is more gimmicky, but it definitely saved this weapon. Number 4 on this list is the Conniver's Kunai. So this is similar to the Big Earner in that it has a similar downside, but after the gunmetal update, it got a really good buff, even though it was good before, but it's even better after the buff. The stats for the Conniver's Kunai are that you lose 55 of your max health, so that means you only have 70 health for your max, which isn't a lot, but on the backstab you absorb the health from your victim, so it means that you will get their health pretty much when you backstab them, as it says on its description card. Start off with low health, kill somebody with this knife, steal all of their health. You can cap out at 210 health, and you can have a minimum of 75 health after you backstab someone. Also, the overheal mechanic on this weapon has changed a bit up, so that you lose 2 health per second instead of losing, I think it's like 6 health per second with a normal medic overheal, but with this you can keep your health longer, and it takes about a minute for you to lose all of your overheal health if you backstab someone and get the full 210 health. So obviously the elephant in the room with this weapon is that you only have 70 health, so everything I said out the Big Earner, it also applies to this. Before this update, however, you only had a max of 60 health, and actually boosting it up to 70 is actually really good, because that means that you can no longer be one hit by melee weapons. Obviously, some melee weapons like the Back Scratcher and the Warrior's Spirit that do extra damage are still going to one-shot you. But weapons like the Bone Saw or the Fists, they're not going to one-shot you anymore, which is pretty good. So on the backstab, when you get the max of 210 health, that's a pretty big advantage. That gives you more health than a soldier, and it's great for chain stabbing because it allows you to take more punishment. So you can walk into a group, kill someone in the middle, like the most important, like the medic, and then like a demo man behind you can be shooting you, and then as long as you get a secondary follow-up backstab on the heavy or something, you can cloak away, and you're pretty much invincible while you're cloaked with this, because you have a 20% damage resistance while you're cloaked. So it's nearly impossible to kill a cloaked kunai spy. Also, if you're on fire or you're bleeding and you get a backstab with the kunai, it acts as a health pack so that that derogatory effect automatically goes away. So you stop burning, you stop bleeding, and it's it's like a good soft counter to the pyro. So this weapon is pretty self-explanatory, obviously, as I said before. It's number 4 just because the bottom health you get is just really low, and you know, I prefer to have more health. So, but this is a great knife. It's awesome for chain stabbing. It's still only number 4. Number 3 is the Your Eternal Reward. So the Your Eternal Reward is the stealthiest knife for the spy. No one knows that you killed their buddy, and then when you actually get them to them, it's over so fast that they just don't know what happened. So, stats for the Your Eternal Reward are that it's a silent killer, so there is no death scream when you kill someone with it, and also it doesn't show up in the kill feed. And you can disguise instantly as someone that you just backstabbed. However, you cannot disguise on your own, and your disguise kit is taken away. So, like the kunai and the Big Earner, this weapon is pretty good for chain stabbing. If you get on the cart and no one's looking at you, you just get stab after stab after stab. No one knows because there's no bodies falling. There's no notification in the kill feed. There's no screen. So this is a pretty stealthy weapon. But the fact that you can't disguise on your own can be a pretty big disadvantage, especially at the beginning of a round when you need a disguise, and that can be difficult to come by, especially if everyone sees you coming. This is actually quite similar to the kunai, in that they both rely heavily on that first stab, with the kunai giving you the health and the Your Eternal Reward giving you the disguise. But after that, they're both great for chain stabbing. As I said before, the Your Eternal Reward just jump up on the cart and no one knows what's happening until it's too late. It's also great for taking out engineer buildings, because as long as you already have a disguise, you'll be able to stab right in front of the sentry without having to stab it super fast. Just like if the engineer's just sitting there and you backstab him, the sentry won't react, so then you can just stab it. It's really easy like that. And as I said before, the silent killer attribute just makes it amazing for chain stabbing. So this knife is only number 3 because it's got some limitations, but it is hands down the best chain stabbing knife for the spy in the game. So number 2 on this list is the stock knife. The stock knife is only number 2 just because although it has no significant downsides, it doesn't have any good upsides either. The stock knife, like all the other knives on this list, does 40 damage on a normal face stab, but when you stab someone in the back hitbox, it will instantaneously kill them unless it is Uber. And also, like 3 out of the other 4 knives, it has a fencing taunt kill, which is pretty much where you slash twice, and then you do a final stab, which kills them. So this weapon doesn't have any drawbacks. It doesn't reduce your health, it doesn't take away your cloaking or your disguising, it doesn't disappear when you get hit. It's kind of the perfect weapon.
Beggars.
The only reason it's not number 1 is just because it has no upsides. So, you know, it doesn't make you invincible to a certain class, it doesn't give you super health, it doesn't give you a speed boost, it doesn't allow you to disguise super fast. But all in all, this is overall and statistically the best knife in the game, although I prefer number 1. And number 1 on this list is the Spicicle. Now, although the stock knife is statistically the best, I find the Spicicle is the most useful and my personal favorite knife. The sets for the Spicicle are that when you come in contact with flame, either from a pyro or a Hulong heater or anything that has fire, your knife will disappear for 15 seconds, but in that 15 seconds, the first second you will be completely invulnerable to fire, and the following 10 seconds you will be completely invulnerable to afterburn damage. However, you can use metal to increase the rate at which your knife regenerates, similar to what you would do with Cloak. When you backstab someone with this weapon, it will also turn them into a little ice sculpture for all their friends to admire. Before the gunmetal update, this knife was a bit different. You had 2 seconds of flame invulnerability instead of the 1 second, but you did not have that 10 seconds of afterburn invulnerability. Also, you couldn't regenerate this knife with metal like you could with Cloak, and it was also a silent killer, so it did not give the death notification and they didn't scream when they died, although you still had the ice sculpture. So I like this weapon a lot just because it gets you out of a lot of jams, especially when it comes to pyros. Also, when you get when your Spicicle melts, you get like a little vaccinator, a bubble around you with the flame icon above you, so it kind of gives away your position, and that's pretty annoying. Hopefully Valve will fix that soon, but you know, it's Valve, you never know. But in my opinion, this is the best weapon for pub play if you want to be a spy, and that's why it's number 1. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.